This young man must be the skilled healer you mentioned, Mr. Rhys, right? From what happened today, you do live up to your reputation, Roderick said. I only hope you won't take it too hard, Mr. Brooks, Dustin said. Any man wouldn't be able to handle hearing that he'd been cheated on. Speaking of, I should be thanking you, Mr. Rhys. If it wasn't for your sharp eyes, I don't know how long I would have been lied to. Roderick forced a smile. In this case, it was better to rip the bandage off. Although it was a bit humiliating, it still beat getting cheated on repeatedly. Mr. Brooks, forgive me for asking, but could the secret illness you've been suffering from be the same as your wife's? Natasha asked tentatively. Typically speaking, if his wife got it, then Roderick must have caught it too. I probably don't have it. Roderick looked slightly embarrassed. To be honest, because of how busy I have been with work, I haven't slept with my wife for half a year. That's good. You dodged a bullet. Natasha smiled. Mr. Rhys, can you tell what disease I have? Roderick went straight to the point. Mr. Brooks, have you been experiencing back and knee pain, mood swings, and insomnia? Dustin suddenly asked. How did you know? Roderick raised his eyebrows in surprise. Of course, I observed it. Dustin smiled slightly. Not only do I know that your body is weak and sickly, but I also know about the hidden injury at your lower back. If my guess isn't wrong, you injured your lower back a few years ago, right? The moment Roderick heard those words, his face instantly grew solemn. The way he looked at Dustin also changed. Indeed, he had gotten hurt a few years ago. That time, he'd been on his way to a meeting to discuss a business deal when a hitman suddenly appeared, stabbing him in the lower back. Fortunately, he didn't lose his life, but ever since then, his injury had been causing him pain. The problem was that he'd never told anyone about this, so how did Dustin find out? Mr. Rhys, you're really amazing. But how could you tell? Roderick was both shocked and suspicious. I'm a doctor. For most ailments, you can identify clues from the smallest details. For example, you were walking in a stiff manner earlier, putting less pressure on your left foot compared to the right. Evidently, you have a lower back injury. Dustin replied. You're truly a miracle doctor, Mr. Rhys. I acknowledge your talent. Roderick said. What a compliment, Mr. Brooks. I'm just using my wits. Mr. Rhys, could you take a good look and see whether this illness of mine can be cured? Roderick extended his wrist. Dustin felt for his pulse. Then, he responded, it's curable, but it will take some time. That knife injured your kidney, which has affected your ability to have children. Your reproductive ability has also greatly deteriorated. This is also why you still haven't had children until now. When he said that, Natasha and Roderick paused, clearly taken aback. Mr. Rhys, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Roderick frowned. That's right, Dustin. Mr. Brooks has a 4-year-old son, Natasha added. The reason why Roderick had doted on Chloe so much was because she'd borne him a son. Being able to have a son as a middle-aged man, he naturally had a lot of love and care for both mother and child. This time, it was Dustin's turn to be confused. He reached for Roderick's wrist again and said with certainty. It's impossible. Your knife injury happened at least 6 years ago. The knife went all the way in, so there is no way you are fertile, unless... Unless what? Roderick found himself asking. Unless your son isn't biologically yours. Roderick was speechless.